Welcome friends, I hope you are doing well. Grimpedia here to show off the progression of my Arcane Titan from Grimarillion. This build is a combination of Diablo 3's Barbarian with Grimdawn's Arcanist. If you are unfamiliar with Grimarillion, there's a video in the description below that explains what it is and how you get it. If you want the shorthand of Grimarillion, it's a custom game which you play through Grimdawn. There are 32 classes from various games such as Diablo 3 and many more. In this video, I will go over some basic tips about gear, the skills and rotations I use, as well as devotions. I decided to make this video separate from the Endgame guide, as I know some new players just want shown a path to Endgame without struggling. With all that out of the way, let's get started. As one of my favorite classes from Diablo 3, I was ecstatic to learn about the D3 Barbarian's inclusion in Grimarillion. During the time I played Diablo 3, one of the most viable and fun builds for the Barbarian was the Leap Quake build. Essentially, a Barbarian would leap around the screen, leaving earthquake lava dots everywhere, and periodically spamming their main attack. In Grimarillion, I've replicated a build that's very close. This early in the game, there really are no gear requirements. When leveling, I try to equip gear with the highest armor absorption, and resistances. Try to keep my armor absorption at 100% and my resistances at the maximum. The next thing you'll notice is I'm using a two-handed weapon. This is because it increases my percent to main hand attacks, which are on many of my skills. I've also picked up a few items that have +1 to all skills. This really helps with the skill point distribution. I wanted to give special mention to this relic though, as it really helps with my sustainability right now. As you can see, it has plenty of damage absorption and armor rating. Another nice item I've picked up in my travels is the Chill Surge Ring. The 10% chance to flash freeze when hit and spread more fire resistance reduction is really awesome. Starting with the offensive skills of the Barbarian, we'll first look at Leap, the first skill in the combat rotation. Leap does percent main hand damage, fire damage, physical damage, and a bit of bleed damage, which we're not going to worry about too much, as this is primarily a fire and physical based build. It can also slow and stun lesser enemies, as well as provide a small amount of reduced physical resistance. Early on, this is pretty powerful. I had it maxed at one point, but then respec'd it with 1 point in each spot. Earthquake is the main AoE attack that also spreads resist reduction through devotion. It's fire, physical, and main hand damage. Molten Fury will provide additional fire and burn damage. Very powerful and very important to max these early on. Earthquake takes about a second to arm. The damage doesn't start until the animation ends. Next, you will need an attack that's spammable. I prefer Whirlwind for a number of reasons. 1. It lines up with our main hand, physical, and fire-based damage. 2. As I'll soon demonstrate, it has great mobility for getting in and out of large crowds. Also, if you take a close look here, you'll notice once soft capped with 16 points, you'll unlock Hurricane, which is a movement speed and defensive ability buff to Whirlwind. Connected to Whirlwind is a 50% chance to summon 3 Dust Devils that do physical and main hand damage with a chance to confuse enemies. Next up, we'll take a look at Warcry. This taunt acts as an amazing debuff. Not only does it reduce OA and DA, but once soft capped with 12 points, it reduces enemies' physical and fire resistance. I also have 1 point put in Battle Rage to increase my overall damage and speed. This is probably going to be worth soft capping, not only for the overall damage and speed, but also for the ferocity bonus, an extra 20 flat damage and 4% offensive ability. Not bad. Continuing on with offense, we'll take a look at what the Arcanist has to offer. Electra's Flash Freeze is the most critical aspect, especially for early development of this build. It is extremely effective at crowd control as you flash freeze everything on your screen in a single blast. It also severely reduces fire and physical resistance to frozen enemies. As you can see, you have reduction of fire resistance by 100% and reduction to physical resistance by 40%. As you level, you will find that some enemies become more resistant to freezing. You may also find this build demanding a lot of energy, so take as many points in the Scandrus as you need. The energy regen and energy leech are well worth it. I've soft capped overload mostly for the increase in offensive ability, but the chance to burn and aether resistance is a nice bonus. You will also notice I've soft capped inner focus for even more OA. We're really going to need it because some of our devotion procs are chance on crit. Moving on to defense, I have to say, Mirror is a fantastic panic button as it grants immunity for a few seconds. Maven's Sphere of Protection pairs nicely with the damage absorption on the relic I described earlier. Here we get another multiple of 20%. Circling back to Barbarian and its defenses, attached to Warcry is an additional bonus to armor rating and flat damage absorption. Once soft capped, an additional bonus to armor absorption and retaliation damage is granted. You should also note that the cooldown of Warcry is almost the length of its duration. Moving on, we'll take a look at Dual Blades, which gives us an additional 8% physical resistance, and Bloodthirst, which gives us attack damage converted to health. This is extremely important to the build because it heals us based on our main hand attack damage. I also have 1 point in Juggernaut to increase these odd resistances and a little bit of health. I may put some more points in this down the road. Wrath of the Berserker is really bitchin'. Now it has a 60-second cooldown with a 20-second duration, but in that time you get more damage absorption, total damage is increased, more speed with more dodge. Also take a look at the bonus once soft cap. You'll get increased health regeneration and a bonus to healing effects. Not to mention, the skill increases your character size by 30%. Also, a really cool advantage is with the increased size, increased radius to your whirlwind. And whenever I use Wrath of the Berserker, I always use Call of the Ancient. These babies scale with your player bonuses. They're invulnerable, but they can't be targeted. They've got a variety of skills here, but that's not what makes them good. What makes them good is their attack damage is converted to your health. So when your bonuses are applied from Wrath of the Berserker, they're also applied to your Ancient, giving you that much more health back. If you are still having trouble with survivability, Ignore Pain is an excellent backup panic button. It has decent damage absorption, but not as great as Mirror. Nerves of Steel is definitely worth putting a point or two in. It acts as an auto heal with 100% damage absorption and immunity to stuns and slows for 3 seconds. Once you reach level 84 and you've been lucky enough to acquire Let Socks, you can drop Whirlwind altogether and spam Leap. There's a half-second delay between leaps, so I hold down the button that spams Weapon Throw to fill the gaps. The high amount of main hand damage results in a lot of healing. Now that we're going to take a look into devotions, I should tell you in the description below I've provided a Grimtools link for the devotions only. I have Flame Torrent bound to Whirlwind, which are additional flames that swirl around you. This about doubles the DPS of Whirlwind, and it has a bit of main hand damage.
And a half-second cooldown.
Next up, we have Eldritch Fire, which I have bound to Earthquake, our AoE, so we can spread fire resistance reduction to as many enemies as possible. Here we have Assassin's Mark, which I've bound to Leap. Leap has a small AoE, which if you invest in it, becomes much larger. Please note, you will need to keep your OA and critical chance up to benefit from this, as Assassin's Mark proc is a 100% chance on critical attack. Light of Empyrean is a 3rd tier devotion. I have it bound to Battle Rage. It's a 20% chance when hit by melee proc, and it's physical, fire, and main hand damage. Also a debuff to enemy damage, and a damage buff against undead and Chthonic. Tree of Life I have bound to Maven's Sphere, mostly for the constant heals. It also has energy regeneration, and it's an AoE. Ghoul bound to Iskander's Elemental Exchange. This converts the majority of attack damage to health, as well as provides attack speed and physical resistance. Once you apply your buffs, you're ready for combat. The first thing you'll do is jump into a large crowd. Drop Earthquake, trigger Warcry and Flash Freeze. Whatever's left standing, whirlwind to death. In case you were wondering about the mod I'm using for health bars, I've customized the ones in Grim Internals. You just edit in the INI file to change the color and size. There should be instructions on the official forums. If you run into trouble, just use your Wrath of the Berserker with your Call of the Ancients, or use your Mirror for that few seconds of invulnerability. Whirlwind has great mobility, but some of the larger heroes and bosses you cannot pass through. So be mindful not to let larger enemies completely close around you. Always have a plan of escape. It's important to keep your stun resist up, because if you get stunned repeatedly in these large groups, you're going to have a bad experience. That basically wraps it up. I'll work on an endgame video for this build in the next couple weeks, so keep an eye out for that. The purpose of making this channel is I wanted to share Grimarillion with everyone, as I don't think very many people know about it. If you like the game, spread the word and share it with a friend. If you'd like to join the Grimarillion community and discuss builds, trade gear, and form co-ops, I've linked the Grimarillion Discord and Facebook in the description below. I plan on making more videos in the future showing off different Grimarillion builds and features. Please let me know what you think. Stay excellent.